What's going on? Um, all right, I want to talk about this thing. This theory that I heard. It's called the false Ark of the Covenant. All right, basically, it's described as a big bowl with a leather animal hide stretched over the top of it, and it's basically a big giant drum. So they would have these. They would have the Ark of the Covenant, but they would have these false Arks of the Covenant that they would be walking around with drums in it banging. And it's I've only heard one guy talk about this, and it was like uh, it's interesting because this whole this whole Indian thing where it's like basically, all right, their religious ceremony is they build this freaking tent, and they got these containers with items in it, because like basically God was showing these Indians like signs, like rainbows, like weird lights, birds, that basically it says that basically like in Second Ezra's that God actually reversed the tide for these people so that they could escape. And Indians end up here. They definitely got the boat skill, like canoe skills. They're adept, water people basically. So that kind of overlaps because what it says in Ezra is about the signs that God showed the people to escape. And the Indians, they said that God led them to the land through these crazy freaking signs. And it says this land is to do with the purification of the earth. Like in the times of Noah, like weirdly enough. And Noah is documented in our history, like not by name, but by the legend of the earth being flooded because man did some great evil against God that he had to purify it. Uh, and there's a guy named there's a story that kind of is reminiscent of Joseph that's told. That's one of the legends, and another one is a guy named, his name's Getub. You know what I'm saying? Like Getube, and it's like if you say that, it sounds listen in syllable, it's identical to Jacob. You know what I'm saying? But so it's like there's some small little remnants in there that was left, that was documented before it was the Smithsonian. You know what I'm saying? Sent that stuff. They deep sixed all this information. Uh, but uh, there's another thing. It's like they got a guy. He stands at the door, like that's mentioned in like Leviticus, I think, about the tabernacle. Uh, and it talks about like all their best skins and all their best fabrics. Like it's all used in this thing that they do, and it's basically they show each of these like little artifacts that come from these bags that are reminders of the signs that God showed them to get to their I guess to the land. And it's crazy because it's called the Seven Fires prophecy. That's it. Now that I've read these books and I've seen these other Indian chronicles and I know the Bible like I do, and I can see the overlaps, and I can see traces, but but they're distant. You know what I mean? And like even in language, there's I seen Gad was used in the Anishinaabe language. You know what I'm saying? Like it's in there. Like I seen it now. So, and it was like, I grew up. My grandma told me that we could be the lost tribes of Israel, and at the time that didn't It didn't mean really anything to me, but now it really does. But it's like let me think what the other overlap. What the other overlap I was looking at here. Um, oh yeah, the false Ark of the Covenant. So, what if these guys weren't in charge of the actual covenant or the Ark of the Covenant, which had the metal box with the stones in it? Maybe these guys carried the false Ark of the Covenant, and they were the diversion guys, and plus with the doom, the imposing drum. You can look in the story of Joshua that uh, uh, they used the horns in Jericho. So I mean, sound weapons were in Israel for sure. You know, especially so was look the men of Valiant were known for using the bow with either hand, and the Indians had that in there, and it also talked about them using shields and spears. If you think of it from a medieval perspective, you'd think of armor like the knights. But look, if you go to Africa and you look at more like them, and the Indians also had the same technology, which is like rawhide shields. And the Romans even used this rawhide on the outside of metal or wood that was soaked in water to stop fiery darts, you know, fiery arrows. So I mean, it's common, but every warrior culture used the Spartans used shields and freaking spears too, but so did the Indians. I'm just saying it's there, and I guess Gad means like a posse. That's what it stands for, like a group of people that travel together or co-inhabit. Uh, and even in Joshua goes to Gad, like, and he's like, so are you going to help me go through and conquer this land? And they're like, yes, our sons will go with you armed. Before you, they'll go in front, and you can come in behind. I mean, I think that's the way it's even stated there. So, it's it's freaking there's a lot of freaking overlaps here. Another thing, I seen like the preschool, like the Levite school, is to keep the fire, the keepers of the fire. Like sometimes when you mention fire, fire, like strange fire. Why is strange fire mentioned if there was no keepers of the fire, my dudes? You know what I'm saying? If it's all just the Bill Cooper, the keepers of the fire, the Plato keepers of the fire, the fire cult, which was the first priesthood which withheld the knowledge of fire, and this is that. This is like Scientology type, L. Ron Hubbard or Space Odyssey 2001 type stuff that's intermingled, and it's like, look, the priest custom was that this guy had to sit there and keep this freaking fire and pray, but if he fell asleep and lost his awareness, the priest master or the head priest would sneak up and cut a piece of the guy. No, he would take a burning firebrand out of the fire and he would set it on the dude's garments, and then he would sneak off, and then the guy would wake up like burning, and then then you got to face ridicule for getting caught slipping, and that's how they taught the priests to stay vigilant. And that's like same thing like Jesus was telling the disciples, hey, can't you just stay up and pray with me for a few hours? You know what I'm saying? And they couldn't. It was because they were undisciplined, and see, Jesus has been in spirit. He's been on the earth all along from the beginning, even until now, but he only had a few years to actually walk in a human vessel. So he was aware of this custom of the keeper of the fire, the priest, and even David, when he creeps up on Saul and cuts off a piece of his garment, and then sneaks off, and then comes back up, and he's like, "Look, I just was already there. I could have killed you. I could have killed you, Dick. I want to eat." But you know what I'm saying? Like, look, basically, and that's similar to the headmaster priest guy that watches the trainees that are keeping the freaking fire. uh, so that you can look like you're praying but secretly be sleeping. Uh, so in a way, that's a intense training. There, it's like, look, you got this burning thing going on, and you got to pray, but you also got to keep your awareness so you're focused enough to see what's going on around you as well at the same time as pray. So that's an intense focus, concentration type training there. But look, this isn't common knowledge to everyone that everyone knows. So it'll sound like voodoo to the ignorant because they've really dumbed us down to the tabernacle. They dumbed us down to the Leviticus and the Numbers and the Deuteronomy. When Leviticus is supposed to be one of the first things that's the bread, man, or not the bread, but it's the food of the word. That's where we learn that the word is our food. Like it says, a man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word which proceedeth out the mouth of God. So, look, when God makes a categorical statement, that says every word, all right? So anyone who wants to say, oh, the Old Testament's done away with, all the prophets are irrelevant, they're liars. That's the spirit of Antichrist, because it said every word which proceedeth out the mouth of God. And and even when you say it like that, now you can look at Enoch. And was that inspired by God too? Didn't God tell Enoch what to write down? So to kick that out of the Bible, in a way, is to go against that. A man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word which proceedeth out the mouth of God. And it's like and it helps with this, this freaking con game of keeping people ignorant. And it's like, in other words, anything that they want to keep it unknown to keep you in fear of it. When in all actuality, I heard another guy say, what's the perfect antidote to fear is understanding, man. And it says God's people perish for a lack of knowledge, for a lack of understanding of what's available to us. It's like, seek him while he may be found. It's like, look, dude, we got access to all this stuff for the moment, and it might not even be forever. But like, look, at the moment, it's like, like they said, I cannot read it, for it is sealed. Well, like, look, it's unsealed. The lock is broken. The veil is rent, and right now it is really opportune time to learn how to peer into the Spirit and to discern the witnesses, the testimonies that they left. It's, a Bible's everything you need is contained in the Bible, but there's other texts too that even clarify things to a higher level, man, that they've been hidden from us on purpose, intentionally, to hide our identity. The last thing that they want us to know is the truth. So I mean, like, look, whatever out there is pushed mainstream, and most all likelihood is probably tainted, and that's just the nature of civilization. The other fire keepers, the ones who withheld the knowledge, like as Plato speaks, these are the people that are teaching you. They keep you looking at the shadows with your back to the fire. You know what I'm saying? It's like they keep you down in the dark in the freaking cave, and then they never show you the fire, nor the man with doing the hand gestures to make the shadows on the wall. And they don't teach you the knowledge to make fire. So, but if you look at the actual the priesthood, the keepers of the tent, and then there's a keeper of the fire. There's a keeper of each different artifact had a different keeper. It was his job to keep these things clean and hidden and safe, and to bring them at the appointed times. That's another thing about Indians. Our holiday we're known for is a feast day, and if you look in the Bible in Leviticus and Deuteronomy, it talks about that these are ordinances to be kept forever, and they were feasts where you call an assembly, all the tribes meet together, fellowship with one another, break bread together, and do it again next year.